Hi guys, it's John from Android Addicts, and today we're going to be doing a comparison between the Galaxy Z Fold 4 and the Galaxy Z Fold 5. So I've put timecodes in the description if you want to skip to any particular part of the test, but basically we're going to go through the specs, we're going to have a look at the cameras, take a look at the benchmarks, and then do some comparisons in gaming and just see whether it's worth you upgrading from the 4 to the 5. Okay, so as these are so similar, it's going to be very quick and simple to go over the differences between these two. So we'll start off with the dimensions, and the Fold 5 is very slightly smaller than the Fold 4. It's also a bit thinner as well, and that is because of this new folding hinge, which does allow you to close the screen pretty much flush against the other side of the panel, whereas on the Fold 4 it was still open slightly. So yeah, those dimensions are very slightly different. The weight difference as well, the Fold 5 is actually 10 grams lighter than the Fold 4. The front screen, we have Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the Fold 4, and we have Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the Fold 5. Same goes for the glass back, they are the exact same Gorilla Glass as the front. We have the standard IPX water resistance up to 1.5 meter for 30 minutes on both, and we do have this aluminium frame that goes around the phones all over, and that is exactly the same again on both phones. They're both running Android 13, and the Fold 4 comes with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, whereas the Fold 5 comes with the brand new Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. And that is the made for Samsung edition, so you know that they've got the best out of it that they can. We have an Adreno 730 on the Fold 4 and an Adreno 740 on the Fold 5. We've got UFS 3.1 storage over here on the Fold 4, and UFS 4.0 storage on the Fold 5. The storage starts at 256 gigs and goes up to 1 terabyte. All models come with 12 gigs of RAM. The camera modules on the phones are exactly the same. There are multiple colours available for both phones. The Fold 4 comes with grey, green, phantom black, beige and burgundy, whereas the Fold 5 comes with icy blue, phantom black, cream, and the online exclusives, grey and blue. I've gone for the grey colour here just for something a bit different to usual. The starting price of the Fold 5 is around £1,750. That obviously was what the Fold 4 cost last year. It's now down to around £1,100, so you could save yourself a good £600 if you get the Fold 4. So the internal screen on both phones is exactly the same. Again, we've got the foldable AMOLED at about 1200 nits peak. Got 7.6 inches viewing area with a slightly higher screen to body ratio on the Fold 5 for having those slightly thinner bezels, but nothing you would notice side by side, as you can quite clearly tell from this video. They come in at a resolution of 1812 by 2176, and that's got a 373 ppi density. So the camera modules on the inside are also exactly the same. They both come with the under-display 4 megapixel wide lens. The only other differences between the two is that the Fold 5, it does come with a tri-band Wi-Fi card, whereas the Fold 4 only has a dual band. There's a slight upgrade to the Bluetooth chip going from 5.2 to 5.3. They've both got the side-mounted fingerprint scanners, which both work excellently. We've got the 4,400 mAh battery on both with that 25 wide charging. Both support 15 watt wireless charging and 4.5 watt reverse wireless charging. Okay, so that is the phones out of the way. They're literally exactly the same in every way, aside from those slight differences. So what else could we possibly look at to compare these two phones? Well, I've been outside, I've taken a few photos and videos, so let's just have a quick look and see whether you can tell any differences between the two. Right, so here are some of the photos I've taken, and as you can see, there's not a massive amount of difference, but there are some very subtle differences if we zoom in a bit. You can see the colours are slightly different between the two. Don't forget there's slightly different processors in each one, but both do really bring out some really nice colours. But we'll go through a few more pictures and you'll see some very subtle differences. Okay, so we come to this flower now. We can just zoom in and have a look at some of the detail here. You can see from the offset that we're slightly closer here on the Fold 4, but it shouldn't make a huge amount of difference. But we still get a lot of really nice detail here on both. Zoom into that fly quite nicely. That was quite a small fly. But yeah, very nice results for both phones. Here we are with another one with some slightly different colours. And again, very little between them here. Now here's where we start to get slightly different. Now ignore the fact that this is slightly blurry over here. That's just down to the wind that was blowing the plant around. But what I do want you to just concentrate on is the colour difference here. So you can see the colour of the red over here is much more saturated in my opinion. It looks slightly more pink than the red on the Fold 5, and that does come up in other photos as we move on. So the reds and pinks and purples can be slightly different when we compare them side by side. Here's some blackberries, and again you see here the red of this unripe blackberry is slightly redder than the slightly blurred out blackberry in the corner there. The greens are also very slightly darker on the Fold 4 than the Fold 5. So I tried to get one of this B as close as I could. Obviously I had to take one at a time, so it was a bit difficult. But yeah, really nice detail here. You can really see this B going at this lavender very well. Now these flowers are slightly orange in colour. So again, on the Fold 4, they do appear slightly more red. Ignore the fact it's slightly out of focus. Again, the wind is constantly blowing, so it's a bit hard to get an exact shot. But yeah, the colour difference is very subtle, but there is a slight difference nonetheless. Same with the greens here, you can see slightly different colours. Very slightly different colour here on the yellow. It's a bit darker here on the Fold 4 compared to the Fold 5. So here I was trying to find out whether there's any difference in the sky at all. And there is a subtle difference. You can see here the clouds are very slightly different on the Fold 4 and the Fold 5. Now it's not exactly the same angle obviously, but you can see the differences where it's a lot brighter in the clouds on the Fold 5 compared to the Fold 4. Other than that, everything else seems fine. Here is one just testing out the portrait mode. And again, it seems to be cutting things out very nicely. No complaints whatsoever. Maybe slightly overzealous there on the bit of hair sticking out. So here's a front-facing video and they're just almost identical. Maybe the shirt is a slightly different light on the Fold 4 compared to the Fold 5. Other than that, it's really hard to tell much difference at all. Okay, so we're going to move on to the internal camera now, so the one here inside the screen or under the display. So let's just have a look at this. Okay, and here we are on the front-facing camera with the Fold open. And yeah, there's definitely some differences here between the two. Again, as I was saying, it's full HD video. Now, I don't know what it is. There's something slightly different between the two. It's maybe better quality here or more detail on the Fold 5 for this under display camera, but obviously it's not the best quality as you'd expect. Now here we have a selfie with that under display camera, and again it's come out pretty well. It is obviously slightly blurry. There's possibly again more detail here on the Fold 5. You can see here slightly crisper compared to the Fold 4. Here are some ultra wide comparisons as well. So you can see here slightly darker here on the stone wall. The tree trunk as well is very slightly darker here on the Fold 5. So it is slightly more true to colour still. There's some very slight differences in the sky as well. You can see here it's making it slightly more blue on the Fold 4, but the true to life colours are definitely on the Fold 5. See here on this flower, for example, it does look a lot richer on the Fold 4. But I'd say it's a more realistic representation on the Fold 5. The colours do look more true to life. Okay, so that was the camera comparison. As you can see, there's barely any difference at all. I'm only nitpicking really about the colours being slightly more saturated on the Fold 4. They look absolutely fantastic on both phones. Just that very slight edge to the Fold 5, but nothing worth spending, you know, an extra £500–600 on. So speaking of nitpicking, let's go through the benchmarks and see exactly how well these run. So these are both running the July update, so they're as up to date as possible. And we're just going to run through the benchmarks and I will skip to the results and you can see and compare the results. And again, we'll see which one comes out on top. Obviously, we're expecting the 8 Gen 2 to come out on top, so it is going to be better, but how much better and is it worth extra money? Let's find out. Right, so I've just finished running the GeekBench 6 benchmarks. We can see the Fold 4 over here, the very respectable score of 1854 for a single core versus 2100 on the Fold 5. Fold 4, 4575 for the multi-core, and Fold 5, 5486. So this is obviously what we were expecting from these results. Did then run the GPU test as well, and you can see here, nice score of 6086, but 9500 here for the Fold 5, so a lot better in terms of GPU. So it's amazing how much difference a year makes. So now what I'm going to do is run through the AnTuTu benchmark. Right, so the benchmarks are just finished. We can see here that the Fold 4 got 1.20 million and the Fold 5 got 1.48 million. So quite substantially better here on the Fold 5 as we were expecting with that newer Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. Battery wise, I have run a couple of tests and we're now down to 82% and 84%. Right, so we're just going to run the stress test now. This runs for 15 minutes. We'll come back with the results and see how they both compare. Okay, so the stress test has just finished and we can see here the results are quite interesting. So let's start with the Fold 4. Pretty good overall results here for the cores. They're staying pretty much at their max, which is really nice to see. Performance-wise though, it does seem to dip down quite a lot to the sort of 60% mark, but it is mostly over 80% for the majority of the sort of first part of the test. It then just dropped down to between about 60 and 80 for the rest of the test, but the core's looking really good there. Some nice results there for the Galaxy Fold 4. Now the Galaxy Z Fold 5, slightly different story. not looking too good here. We can see, although the performance is better, we're getting really good performance for the first sort of 5-6 minutes, similar to what we saw on the Fold 4. But after that, we do drop down to around about 70%, I'd say, the remainder of the test. Probably more stable, but we do see those cores drop worryingly low here and throttle down to stop the phone overheating. So that's really not good to see on the latest flagship device. Okay, let's do a WidLife Extreme test and we'll compare the two, see how they both fare. Okay, and we can see the average frame rate on the Fold 4, 16.7 compared to 23.3 on the Fold 5. So it was running around 7 to 10 frames faster per second on the Fold 5. But yeah, really good results there from both phones. Let's move on to the slingshot test now. 83 and 45 FPS versus 93 and 49. Physics scores. 1, 2 and 3, 67 versus 80, 41 versus 71, 24 versus 36. So there is obviously a massive difference in performance here for the Fold 5 over the Fold 4. Okay, so we're just going to do a quick browser test and we'll see how they both compare here. So this is going to affect how fast the phones can render pages and function whilst you're just browsing the web. So 128.647 versus 190.461. So it is notably quicker on the Fold 5 as we would expect with that new Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. And that's all very well and good doing some benchmark tests, but how does it actually play in the games themselves? Let's load up PUBG and have a quick look at how it fares. Okay, so here we are in PUBG Mobile. So we're currently at HDR and Extreme on both. As you can see, when you go to Ultra HD, it doesn't let you if you have the Extreme frame rate. So on that, you're getting about 60 frames per second. That's the maximum theoretical, at least, on these two phones. Now, you can see it's nice and smooth, but there is a bit of lag every now and again. You can see here frames dropping down to about 53 on the Fold 5, same on the Fold 4, dropping down to about 54, 55. So it does work, but it's probably not the best use of your battery power and your CPU power by having it like this. You can see the CPUs are maxed out on both. Right, so we're on the smooth and extreme graphics now, and you can see it's still actually doing very well here on the Fold 4 and the Fold 5. Around 56 frames per second, between 50 and 60 at least. Right, here we are with COD Mobile, and this is probably what you want, low and ultra. Okay, so running at a very nice, smooth 90 FPS here on the Fold 5, and again, pretty much 90 on the Fold 4. It's so well optimized, Call of Duty, so 90 FPS does work perfectly fine on both. On very high and max frame rate, and that just locks it at 60 pretty much on both, as you can see. It's as smooth as anything, but you do get that better, higher quality graphical fidelity alongside that. So if you're happy enough with 60 and you're not too worried about 90, then 60 with very high graphics is the way to go. Okay, so here we are in Genshin Impact, and I've got it set on medium and 60 FPS. As you can see, both phones handling it quite nicely. CPU wise, we do have more reds on the Fold 4 than we do on the Fold 5. With the GPU here on the Fold 4 at around 96% usage, compared to between 60 and 80% on the Fold 4. Temperature-wise, around the same temperature, around 40 degrees. As you can see, this runs nice and smoothly on both phones. Yeah, it is going to be using up a bit more battery on the Fold 4 due to that extra GPU utilization. You can see the reds in the CPU as we go through. So I've set it to the highest now and 60 FPS just to see how things go. And now we're maxed out on the GPU on both phones. So we're at 98% here on the Fold 4 and 95% on the Fold 5. Still really performing pretty well, to be fair. Slight bit of stuttering, but yeah, overall both phones do handle this, and you do get that extra visual quality as well. I personally wouldn't run it at this. I'd keep it on medium and 60. That's around about fine, maybe even high and 60 to get the best out of it that you can. Okay, so we're in Fortnite and we've got the text quality on high on both and 90 FPS. So let's just see how they both do. They're both doing pretty well. Fold 5 definitely slightly better at keeping up at 90 FPS. The Fold 4 is dropping down a bit, but not a massive amount. But again, we do see this extra CPU usage here on the Fold 4. Okay, so now we've loaded into the map, we can see, again, keeping pretty well up at about 90 FPS on both phones, just a couple frames less on the Fold 4 compared to the Fold 5. So really not a huge amount in it. You do see, however, that CPU and GPU is working a lot harder in the Fold 4, but it is keeping up with the Fold 5 quite nicely. That's my quick review and comparison of the Galaxy Fold 4 versus the Fold 5. So my final thoughts on this are, as you can see, they're pretty much the exact same phone. Aside from some slight aesthetic differences here on the Fold 5, performance-wise, Yes, the Fold 5 is faster in every way, but is it notable for everyday use? Probably not. Now we're down to 60% battery here on the Fold 4 versus 61 on the Fold 5. So the fact that this is a year old and it's still keeping up very well with the Fold 5 is quite incredible, I'd say. So yeah, would I recommend the Fold 5 over the Fold 4? Well, personally not. If you've got a Fold 4 and you're wondering whether you want to buy an upgrade to the Fold 5, then it's not really worth it, not at the moment at least. If you're getting a free upgrade to the Fold 5 with your contract or your plan, then yes, go for it, you may as well. But if you do have a Fold 4, it really is not worth the upgrade to the Fold 5. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out my other videos of the Fold 5 coming soon. So don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification to be notified when those videos release.